40inbox.com, and Republican calls for credit card APR to max out at 18%. So Senator Josh Hawley demands a cap to stop rates soaring to 24% and debt hitting 1 trillion. So Senator Josh Hawley has a new populist proposal that eschews the laissez-faire Republican economics of old. He wants to install an 18% cap on credit card interest rates. The Missouri Republican tore into soaring interest rates, which hit an average of 28% this week, just as credit card debt levels have surpassed 1 trillion in the US. In comments to Real Clear Politics, Hawley noted the government was quick to bail out the banks just this spring, referring to Silicon Valley Bank of California and Signature Bank of New York, but has ignored working people struggling to get ahead. He put credit card issuers directly in his crosshairs. We know what they're doing. Now, here's kind of my viewpoint on like credit cards and like APRs. I think credit cards, where they are today, are basically legal loan sharks. And like really the only difference between them and actual loan sharks is that you still have your kneecaps if you don't pay. But barely, right? Like over 20% for like an interest rate is beyond insane. But the sad thing is like if you just paid your bill on time, like if you paid off your balance every month, you wouldn't even be bothering with paying a interest rate at all. But the problem is there's so many people who spend more than what they make to where they end up carrying a balance on their credit cards, and it ends up turning them down like a very horrendous cycle of constantly living paycheck to paycheck. Let's see. So they're out there actively encouraging and finding new ways to get consumers indebted. They hike rates and they can make a killing on it, Hawley said. Setting caps on credit card APR would be a fair and common sense way to give the working class a chance, according to Hawley. President Biden has made getting rid of credit card junk fees a focus of his administration, but Hawley's proposal takes it even further to the left. It puts him in line with Democratic Socialist Rep. AOC and Bernie Sanders, who introduced the Loan Shark Prevention Act in 2019 to cap credit card APR at 15%. In comments to RCP, Hawley defended his proposal. We have a long history in this country of statutes at the state and federal level that prevent what we used to call usury, an old-fashioned word for ripping off working people, and we need to get back to it. Yeah, like the thing is, again, if you paid off your balance every month, you wouldn't even be dealing with this. Like this wouldn't even be like an issue to your mind. Like for example, even though I don't like to use debt, I still use a credit card sometimes, but I never carry a balance because I'm not going to pay 20+% interest rate on anything because that is just beyond insane. The problem is, right, is that one, you have people who spend more than they make using credit cards. Two, people don't really understand how credit cards work. And three, people will get their hands on credit cards very easily, and they can get their hands on credit cards very easily without any sort of prior knowledge. And so, to put it into perspective, I had a family member who really did not understand how credit cards worked. And when she got a credit card, she believed that the credit card like limit, right, was like free cash to her. That she was just allowed to spend whatever it is and that you didn't have to pay it back. She actually believed that. She believed that she got like $5,000 for free or something like that, whatever the credit card limit was. So she maxed it out. And then her hubby was like, "What the actual hell are you doing?" kind of thing. So you got to be aware that there's a lot of people who just straight up don't understand how credit cards work at all. Like, when you use a credit card, the main purpose to use a credit card is to basically get the benefits of a credit card when you purchase it. The problem is, you only get those benefits from using it because there's people who are ignorant or just bad at using credit cards where they basically fund your benefits, which is kind of like a crappy thing when you really think about it. That's why, like, another reason why I really don't like to use credit cards is because it's like, oh wow, I'm really just like enjoying benefits off of the back of people that are just bad with managing their money. It's kind of like a really sick feeling. That's why I really don't like to use credit cards that much, right? Like, for example, if you get like a huge like cash back, it's like, oh man, like they're offering such a high cash back because they know that so many people stay into debt like crazy amounts. Like, I think like the average credit card balance is like for an American like $7,000 or $8,000 on the credit card balance, 20% plus on that every single month. Ooh, God, like that 20% APR is like, ugh, like you're paying such high minimums per month that it's just disturbing, right? And like credit cards are one of the scariest things when it comes to debt because of how little your money actually goes to paying off the principal if you were to go the minimum route, like minimum pay route. So, for example, you could have like a $10,000 credit card balance, right? Like debt balance, and that could maybe take like 20 years to pay off. Like, are you kidding me? You're going to take 20 years to pay it off, and by the end of it, you would have spent more than like 10,000 plus on interest alone. Like, it's crazy. Like, people got to be so careful when it comes to credit cards. So Hawley has led the charge on the GOP soaring on the corporate-friendly policies it espoused above all else for decades. He proposed legislation that would cap insulin prices at $25 and has championed a wage subsidy proposal that would use federal dollars to increase the minimum wage. Credit card balances shot up by 45 billion between the first and second quarters of 2023, pushing total credit card debt past the 1 trillion mark according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. And the rate of credit card delinquency has also been rising and topped 5% in July, the Fed said. And a spokesperson for the American Bankers Association, ABA, told DailyMail.com of the proposal, price controls don't work. This proposal would harm consumers by restricting access to credit for those who need it the most and driving them toward less regulated, more costly alternatives. Like, here's the thing. If you're already doing so bad with credit cards that you're going to go down the route of like payday loans, you have far more issues than credit cards, right? You are down such a bad path, like financially speaking, if you're using payday loans, because like I believe some payday loans, I think if you were to like actually break down the fees, etc. and whatnot, that you could actually be paying like an over 100% interest rate on payday loans. Like they're beyond predatory. Like payday loans, like never use them. Like never. Like ever use them. Like I would rather have someone use a credit card and carry a 20 plus percent interest rate than use a payday loan. That's how bad payday loans are. And I hate people carrying debt on credit cards, but like, oh my god, never go down that route. Let's see some of these comments. The average maximum card APR is now at an all time high of 28.40% and growing. That is insane. I agree, that is insane. That is legal loan sharking. But also, when you think about it, this other comment puts it plainly. All the more reason to pay off your cards every month. So here's the thing. Even when you use a credit card, right, only use it on items that you can actually afford. If you can't afford it, like if you can't buy that item in cash, you can't buy it. Like, you cannot afford to actually buy it. But people with access to credit cards, they just view it as like a easy option to get what they want. And it's just like, you gotta be so careful. And you spend typically so much more money using a credit card compared to a debit card and compared to cash. Now, I understand why some people might use a credit card other than a debit card or other than cash, in case you get robbed, in case your cards get stolen, whatever, it's a little bit easier to deal with. And also maybe for security too, because, if something like if some sort of fraud or something happens with your credit card, it's less of a hassle to deal with that than if your debit card got hacked into because it's straight up with your bank account. I understand that. But the problem is, people got to factor in the risk with using a credit card. Like, if you are someone, and you got to be honest with yourself, if you are someone that cannot handle using a credit card, you really cannot be using a credit card. Like, you got to like look at yourself in the mirror and be like, can I handle this? If I can't, I need to stay away from it. Anything higher than 12% is robbery. The crazy thing is, I think there are some car loans getting higher than 12% right now. Whew. So this is something I could definitely get behind. I actually just got a credit card offer in the mail with an APR of 35.98%. This is crazy, but if it is a bill that goes to vote, doubt it will pass. Dems are on board with Bidenomics that dictate interest rates go up every quarter. They want more and more Americans to be burdened with an insurmountable debt. Hmm. Debt makes slaves of us all. Agreed. Yeah. So either way, the best route if you were to ever use a credit, like, this is basically how you should use a credit card, right? This is how I use a credit card, so I never carry a balance. I never pay interest rates. I have a very high credit score, and this is what I do, right? Anytime I do use a credit card, which is rarely, but anytime I do use a credit card, within like 5 minutes of making a purchase with that credit card, I'm already sending money to that credit card to pay it off, right? I'm not waiting 30 days to pay it off. Now, some people do that with like an auto pay type of feature, but sadly enough, the credit card that I have is so effed up in terms of how they like do their credit card is that they straight up don't allow you to auto pay it, right? So you can't just set up a system to auto pay your balance in full with the credit card that I have, which is so beyond crazy, and it's like one of the major banks, and like it won't like let you do like an auto pay. It is the most scummiest thing ever. And the reason why they do that is because they want you to pay fees, etc. But like, I've never paid a fee in my life when it came to credit cards, so that's what I do, right? Now, again, one of the main reasons why I do that is because one, I don't ever want to carry a balance, but two, also the bank that is connected to that credit card is like a scummy bank, so go figure. I don't really like doing business with them, but I'm not gonna like cut off my credit card line with them because that's just gonna drop the credit score by a horrible amount. But yeah, so make sure to pay off your. Well, here's the thing, right? If you want to have a good credit score and potentially repair your credit score and have a better credit score over time and just get, better benefits from your credit score or credit card, whatever, right? This is how you should really do it, right? No matter what, if your credit card allows it, make sure that at the bare minimum, you make a minimum payment, right? So that you never miss a payment. Because missing a payment is one of the worst things that you could do when it comes to utilizing a credit card, right? Next, have a very low credit utilization. So, what do I mean by that? Let's say that your credit limit is $1,000, right? You want to be basically like under 200 bucks on that credit card balance. Otherwise, it's going to like affect your credit score. That's why also I don't carry a balance. Now, some people have this weird misconception that if you carry a credit card balance, that you're just going to have a higher credit score. That's not the case, right? Now, there is a very specific type of scenario where you could potentially get like a perfect credit score by having like multiple lines of credit and also multiple loans on you, right, within your name that you are constantly making on time payments for. So, what I mean by that, let's say that you have a mortgage, a rental property, another rental property, and maybe like a car that you're making payments on, right? And you're making on time payments for all those things no matter what. But also, in terms of like the amount of credit that's allowed to you, is very low compared to like potentially like your income, right? So like for example, like let's say that you have all those payments going out and maybe it's like 10K per month, but you're making like actually not, it's kind of like an extreme example. Let's take that back. So let's put it this way. Let's say that you have a car payment and a mortgage payment, right? And that totals to about $2,000 per month. But you're bringing close to $10,000 per month, right? And you never miss a payment, and you've been making these payments for like a decade, right? Then you could pretty much get like almost like a near perfect credit score. But again, like once you get past like 740, 750, 760, it doesn't really matter in terms of like your credit score for like extra benefits. Like once you get to the high 700s, basically everything's pretty much the same. So definitely don't carry a balance if you want to keep your utilization low. Make sure to never miss a credit card payment, period. End of story. That is like the number one thing. And make sure that depending on when you potentially need to have a higher credit score, don't try to apply for like a higher credit limit, right? So, what I mean by that, let's say that you have a credit card limit of like $5,000 right now, but you want to potentially get a down payment for a home, right? You don't really want to be trying to apply for more credit on your credit card right before you are trying to get a down payment for a home, like to like apply for like a mortgage, etc. Because your credit score is going to get dropped because they're probably going to do a hard credit check on you. So that could drop your points by a good amount. So that's also an issue. And also, if you end up having like a car loan while you're also trying to potentially get a mortgage for a home, you could pretty much actually be denied a mortgage for your home. So that's something also to think about too. But either way, when it comes to credit cards, try your best to just like never miss a payment. Try your best to keep the amount of utilization that you have to the bare minimum, hopefully to zero, so that you don't pay any interest at all. Because you don't want to be used by these credit card companies. And if you carry any amount of money, like if you pay any interest on your credit cards, you've basically just been straight up taken advantage of, right? Because it's like these interest rates are just so disgusting. Like these are loan shark interest rates, and you do not want to be dealing with that, right? Because again, it may not seem like that big of a deal at the very beginning, like oh, like 20% off of only like $100 balance, right? Whatever, right? But the problem is people keep going down that path over and over and over again, and their credit card balance keeps growing and growing and growing to the point where like they like are normalized to it, like it's like a normal thing to them. And then like a year passes, 2 years pass, and their original $100 amount is now like 15, $20,000 because they just kept on like adding more and more purchases. Like, for example, if your phone is linked to your credit card, if you have any sort of like apps linked to your credit card, if you have an Amazon account linked to a credit card, you're just gonna like click buy, click buy, click buy, click buy, click buy, right? And you're not really gonna see the the payments that or the charges like add up till later. So you're not even gonna feel the pain of what you just bought. Like, are you gonna feel anything if you just click oh, just bought a new MacBook. Oh, just bought a new phone. Oh, I just bought like a gaming computer. Oh, I just bought whatever, right? And by the end of the month, you realize that you spent like $2,000 on Amazon because you didn't feel any of that purchasing, but that money still went out. So it really adds up, and you get into situations where people just have such high consumer debt because of their credit cards. Because mentally speaking, like when you use a credit card, it doesn't feel like you're actually spending money. Like that's the scariest thing about using credit cards. People feel like they aren't spending any of their money when they are, right? They are spending their money. It's just sad. It's very sad, but just keep that in mind. If you want to learn how to get a debt, go to 40inbox.com. Stay tuned for more financial commentary. Either way, do your best to not carry a credit card balance at all. Because Jesus, over 20% interest rate.